Can the number one prospect in baseball, Konnor Griffin, break camp and be gold for your fantasy team?
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics. I'm Dominick Martino, here as always with Matthew Ahne, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network. Thank you to our everydayers and new listeners for making us your first listen each and every day. Matt and I are longtime fantasy baseball analysts, and between the two of us, there is over 40 years of fantasy baseball knowledge, and we do this podcast to share it with you. Wherever you watch and or listen, please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. It helps us to grow the podcast, and we truly appreciate it. And guys, today we are continuing to dive into the shortstop position, where Matt and I are going even deeper with our 13 to 24 at the position. And Matt, I'm not even going to tease it anymore. We're going to put you on the hot seat. You got Konnor Griffin in there in, your top 24. I believe, he was at 19 as we're pulling it up here on YouTube. Yes, I did get that correct. Matt, you have him at 19. I'm assuming that you're just thinking he's breaking camp with that ranking. So let's hear it, Matt. Konnor Griffin, thoughts?
So, let's start off with this too. Obviously, I'm not going to walk away with him as a starting shortstop. That's why he's 19. Standard biggest league you can really get into. It's pretty standard is 16-man league. So I have him 3 spots out of that. I just want to clarify. But Konnor Griffin, the probability of him breaking camp is on the side of Konnor Griffin. One, the amount of media coverage and stuff that is truly going across not only his Instagram, his Twitter, and all his socials, but how they're facing and ingraining him in the Pittsburgh lifestyle and of the league in a lot of ways. So I think they're getting ready for his, pretty much up and coming. He's the most exciting player coming up as a prospect in a long time since the Julio Rodríguez. And in terms of instant impact, it's a good comp because look at Julio Rodríguez's instant impact when he got the call. You're looking at something of that, but it's Konnor Griffin, truthfully, is more like a Mike Trout. The dude is so good. He does it all. Great bat, makes contact, great discipline, has power. He's awesome, overall awesome. And if you're not familiar with the 6'4", 225-pound man, let me enlighten you because he's also only had 1 year of baseball under his belt, and the kid's an absolute animal. 484 at bats across A+, AA. 117 runs, 23 doubles, 4 triples, 21 home runs, 94 ribs, 65 stolen bases, and batted .333. The kid lit it up. He even had an OBP of 415, an OPS of 941. The kid literally crushed all 3 levels of baseball. Honestly, there's no purpose of him even going to AAA from both an organizational standpoint and just a fantasy baseball standpoint. You look at it, the kid is pretty much just destined to go up to the bigs because there's not much left for him to do. What does AAA have? Not as many good pitchers. Most of the good pitchers don't make it past AA. So he's seen the best and he's doing what he needs to do. The swing clearly has it. He makes great contact. He clearly hits for average and he has great plate discipline. What is left to be? So he's not just a guy that I have ranked 19th, which is honestly like a confident, hey, he's getting the call. And in early drafts, that's where you're picking him up. But when the call is made, when he's there past, I'll say March 15th, right? The week before the season starts, that is when he gets the call and his price probably jumps to the top 12. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets ranked at 12 and ADP at 12 because Konnor Griffin is a generational talent. And the first time in years that he is the consensus number 1 prospect in all of baseball. So Konnor Griffin cannot be ignored. And I'm taking shots on him all early drafts because I want him on my team. And he very well could do a Ronald Acuna too, where it's 2 weeks down and he's up. So this is a kid that needs to be drafted.
Yeah, Matt, great take on Konnor Griffin there. In early drafts, definitely somebody you want to throw a dart at for sure. I have it ranked a little bit just more conservatively right now. If spring training starts, right, We see he looks himself. Everything's great. He's hitting how Konnor Griffin hits, and we expect him to. Obviously, he flies up my rankings. I think everybody else's. I'll play a small bit of devil's advocate just for the fun of it here. Only real thing I could see potentially holding Konnor Griffin back, it was only 21 games at AA last year. And maybe, the Pirates do it just for the control. We'll see. Those are the only, real things that I could think of against Konnor Griffin, because as Matt said, he dominated everywhere. That the kid has great power, great, run tool, plays good defense too, literally can do everything that you ask for. My ranking will, adjust as soon as we see the things that I mentioned before, see him in spring training doing his thing. And, once it really just looks like, he's going to, make the team, as Matt said, I wouldn't be shocked if that ranking gets up there to a top 12 shortstop. But Matt, great breakdown on him. So I don't want to waste any more time on Griffin. Number one prospect in baseball. Pirates, shortstop / outfielder, can do it all kind of guy. Konnor Griffin once again. But Matt, picked on you a little bit. What do you got for me, brother?
Well, I mean, the more, I think, relevant one out of all the prospects that are going to get the call this year that could really break camp is Kevin McGonigle, right? Why don't you have him in your top 24? I think there's a more clear path than Konnor Griffin. So, explain yourself.
Yeah, I hate to say the same thing almost applies for McGonigle, but it actually really does for me here. Once again, we see him out there, and he's doing his thing, and he's doing Kevin McGonigle stuff. He's hitting 300. He's got a little bit of power. Not so much, the speedy guy like, Konnor Griffin is, but he could steal a bag here or there, had 10 last year. I'll give you the breakdown of what McGonigle did last year. 88 games across 3 levels. He hit 305. He had 68 runs, 31 doubles, 19 homers, 80 RBIs, 59 walks to 46 strikeouts, and those 10 aforementioned steals. McGonigle probably has the best hit tool of all the minor league prospects, in my opinion. Not as much power and or speed as a Konnor Griffin, but like I said, makes up for it with the hit tool. Should have good counting stats on a Detroit team. And I think him and Konnor Griffin are going to be pretty much compared to each other for the rest of their careers, like, Julio and Bobby Witt are, just because 1 and 2, I believe I heard from Baseball America, this is the first time in about 7 years that any 1-2 player was ranked consensus on every single ballot that was put in by the Baseball America reps as they voted for the top prospects. So that's really cool to see. And as I said, I love McGonigle. I actually have McGonigle in a dynasty league that Matt and I play in. I've had him, since last year. And I really think he's going to be fantastic as long as he can make the team and we just see those things right. I just have it ranked a little bit more conservative right now. Once spring training starts and we see these things happening, rankings can change and move very quickly, and I could see both of them. I don't think McGonigle gets as high as 12. I could see McGonigle being maybe in my personal rankings. If you're watching on YouTube, you could see I have Jackson Holliday at 16. I think that could be a great debate, Jackson Holliday versus Kevin McGonigle. And I think he would wind up around there in my rankings if I was about 75% certain he was going to make the team.
I mean, fair enough. I just think there is a path. I mean, you look at, Detroit, who's there, the underperformance of certain things and the needs, it just makes a lot of sense. And they're not like the Pittsburgh Pirates where they will do it for the control. And the league has given incentives to call your prospects and have them break camp because of the draft pick incentives. So McGonigle isn't on a greedy team. We all hate Pittsburgh Pirates, not because they're the Pirates, because of ownership and the fact that they don't want to be good. So it's one of those things where McGonigle has a path. He really doesn't even have to play like to the point where he's just blowing away camp. He just has to play good enough and better than his other people on the Tigers as we speak, and he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, I'm not a big Zach McKinstry guy who is
Yeah.
penciled to start at shortstop right now, 30 years old. So obviously, yeah, like you said, there's definitely a clear shot for McGonigle here. Like I said, it's a little bit early here, as we're recording the episode in the season. What are we? I think we're still in January 22nd here. I just want to see spring training start where everyone's doing. Let's get everybody out there and see where these guys are at and just make sure that they're still capable of doing their things. But before we continue, we got a bunch more fun names today on the episode, so you're going to want to stay locked in. A lot more names like JJ Weatherholt we'll talk about, another big prospect, and more coming up next. And all right, guys, I need to talk to you about my friends over at TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life this year. TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employment forms and work to get your every deduction you can. You upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right on the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get your life back. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. And all right, folks, thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Fantasy Baseball with no interruptions, member-only Discord access, and access to Locked On merch and much more. All for $5 a month or $50 a year. So check out the link below in the show notes for more. And all right, Matt, let's keep things pushing here. I believe it's my turn to jump back in on you here. And there is, we hit on some of the prospects, and you and I are usually very in sync with most stuff, and especially guys that have been around for a while. Some of the newer guys we get, a little bit, maybe not so close on, but a lot of the veterans we normally are close on. This was one I was surprised at. You got Willy at 14. I got him at 19. Are you back in on the? I don't even know if you're ever on the Willy bandwagon, but I'm going to ask you: are you hopping on?
So I wouldn't call 14 hopping on. I would say that
I know I'm busting your chops.
I would say he's the best option when you get this far into the draft. Let's put it that way. I like Tovar. Tovar is good, but Tovar still has question marks. Trevor's Story had a really good season, but it's super hollow in the underlying stats. I don't think it's repeatable. Dansby Swanson had a good season, but not good enough for me to want to trust him. And I like Jacob Wilson, but I think that he's going to be a very, very good player, more like a Trevor Arias than he's going to be as a fantasy contributor. But when I look at Adames, he has the tangibles to at least have an impact for your fantasy team and for your fantasy season, especially in a 14 person league. And let's dig into that. And that is where I think I want to stand at. Right? Like let's review what he did in 25. Played a whole full season, 591 at bats, 94 runs, 22 doubles, 2 triples, 30 home runs, 87 ribs, 12 stolen bases, batted 225. Now look, yes, the batting average was so bad. I think I could probably hit better in the bigs than he can. Let's just be honest here. But I will say it's not atrocious to the point where he can't recover from it. Yes, the expected batting average is also 224, which matches up. And yes, the balls that he hit and play that were out were probably going to be more outs than anything else. Don't get me wrong. But what I like about his profile is he's a guy that strikes out 26.1% of the time, but it walks 11% of the time. Okay. Now, am I going to go say he's going to go hit 270? Absolutely not. But can he hit 240? Can he hit 250? Maybe. But if I get this kind of production where I get that kind of runs, which I think is repeatable, especially with Devers being there a full season, him get 25 to 30 home runs with double-digit stolen bases and a good amount of ribs, he's going to have a better season than most of the people below him. I mean, where do you see Tovar going to be able to get the runs and ribby numbers on his team? Trevor Story, again, I think it's super hollow. He had an incredible year. I don't think it's happening again. And Dansby Swanson, again, not going to happen. Jacob Wilson isn't going to have the power numbers or the power numbers to really back that up. So I'd rather take Willy Adames, who's going to have a more impact on a lot of categories and not destroy my batting average. So that's really just the reason for number 14 overall for me at the position.
Yeah, man, I hear it. I hear it. I'll be honest with you. I am just a big time Adames hater. I have serious questions about the batting average getting back up. The last 4 years, it was 225 last year, 251 in 2024. That's solid, but 217 in 2023 and 238 in 2022. Bad trends there. The powered stuff, you look at the underlying stuff, I don't know how much I'm buying the 30 bombs. I mean, the barrel percentage was great, 80th percentile there. Hard hit rate below average, average exit velocity below average, doesn't square the ball up well, bat speed is below average. A lot of stuff points to, and it's a tough park to hit in. 30 home runs is a nice feat over there in San Francisco, right? But then again, last 2 years, career high in games played in 2024. Last year, 1 game less, 161, 160. If he doesn't play 160 games, I don't know if those runs and RBIs numbers look good. And if he takes a little bit step back in the power, I was talking about those underlying stats for power. If he winds up playing 145 games, I wouldn't be shocked if it's 85 runs, 22 homers, 68 RBIs, 8 to 10 steals, and a 220 batting average. I can just see it going real south for Adames. As to where some of the other guys I got above him, I want to take the shot on potential breakouts of the Tovars, the Hollidays. Jacob Wilson had a really, really strong showing as a young blood. I love what Colson Montgomery could do. I know it's a really bad team, but I think he could have a nice year. Just a lot of other ways I want to throw my dart if I haven't been as risky. If you've been a little bit more risky in drafting up into that point, sure, we kind of know who Willy Adames is. There's possibly some power. The runs could be good. I'm not banking on much else being above average for Adames, but if those are things you're looking for and you want some solidity at the position, sure, you can take that route. But just somebody for me that I'm really not targeting in drafts this year.
Hold on, I just have one more rebuttal on that. I mean, the reason why I wouldn't say bought in, but the reason why I feel comfortable with Willy Adames is the stuff that made him successful last year repeated, right? So 24, he had 12% barrel percentage and had an increase in hard hit percentage of 40% to 40%, which is career highs. He then followed it up by the same barrel percentage and then increased the hard hit percentage by 2%. Now, the launch angle took a little bit of a step back in negative regression, but it's not atrocious. It's still 63rd percentile. I like the trend of things going in the right direction and the stuff that equates to getting the ball to the bat, making quality contact, and then doing something with it. Like I said, we don't need him to hit 30 home runs at this point, but 25, I think, is definitely in the realm of possibilities, and that would show negative regression. But there's a world where he hits 30 home runs again, and that ability is there, because it's not an empty trend anymore. It wasn't a one-hit wonder. He did it twice. So we have to at least give the guy a little bit of credit to buy in on it, because once is a mistake. Twice, you figured something out.
Yeah, but there's still other underlying stuff that went down on year to year. The average exit velocity went down. The hard hit went down. Sweet spot, bat speed.
Hard hit it went up from 24. Hard hit percentage was 40.7, and 25 is 42.8. So, and the barrel stayed the same. The average exit velocity is nice, but that's just how hard he hits fastballs.
Yeah, like hard hit went down was 50 in the 52nd percentile of 40.7 in 24, and then in 25 it went down to okay, so he went. This is what I was looking at. He went down compared to the average MLB player. He himself improved, but he went down compared to the yes.
I don't care about league average.
I did misconstrue that. That is my fault. I did misconstrue it.
Yeah, league average is whatever. You see progression in the player.
You're 1,000% right. That's on me. That's a mistake on me.
Yeah. So it's a trend. It's a new trend. And even though it's a late age breakout, normally when a guy does this at 28, 29 years old, they don't repeat it. It's hollow as hell. Adames was very talented. He just could not figure it out. I think whatever he's got going on, this is kind of the new Adames. Just don't expect really good batting average. But there will be a season he hits 251 again and 30 some odd home runs, and you're getting him super late and at the 14th overall shortstop. I think it's a fair place. But before we move on, because we spent way much time on a guy that we truly could care less about, stick around for right after this. All right, we are back, and now look, we have another debate here, okay? But it's not really like a debate. It's Colson Montgomery. He has him at 18. I have him at 21. It's about 3 spots, nothing severe, but I can easily be talked into bringing him up higher. I just need to hear why you would want him over the upside of, I would say, Konnor Griffin or, Kevin McGonigle at this point, because I'll probably still get Colson Montgomery later, but I could at least take a shot.
I will say this. I'll preface my statements here with this: is that if once again spring training comes around and McGonigle and Griffin look like they're going to break camp, I think they pass up Montgomery easily for me. But I want to talk about more just why I like Colson Montgomery in general. He was a highly touted prospect, the last few years. When he came up last year, he was solid. He wasn't blowing you away, but he was good in his 71 games, right? 255 at bats. 43 runs, 9 doubles, a triple, 21 bombs. 21 bombs, that's not a mistake. 21 bombs in 71 games. A lot of power. 55 RBIs, 25 walks to 83 strikeouts for a 23-year-old first taste of the bigs. That's not horrible. 239 batting average. I like that. 311 on base with a 529 slug. You like that too, if you're playing in those extra category leagues, right? But shows good for the guy, has got that power in there. X slug, he was really, really good with that last year. 501. Barrel percentage at 14.5. Elite bat speed at 77. He also has a nice glove, so he's going to stay out there on the field. Honestly, I don't want to be like bullish, but could Colson Montgomery hit 35 home runs with like a 240, 250 batting average? I think that's definitely possible. Depends on where he's going to hit in this White Sox lineup. Obviously, even if he's hitting, third or fourth, it's still not going to be great. But, Luis Robert had some nice years there with this White Sox team as far as, runs and RBIs go. Kind of want to see where they got Montgomery hitting third. Montgomery's hitting third. Love to see that. So, once again, if he plays 150 games, 145 games, could he have 75 runs and 85 RBIs with 30 plus homers? I think that's easy. And down here, where you're drafting at this point, where you're getting Montgomery, I think that's a great value with, a highly touted prospect who could potentially, really, really fill out this year. And he's got that big body too, 6'3", 230. Guy's all muscle. I really, really, I believe in Colson Montgomery. I think he's going to have a nice year with this White Sox team.
I agree. The reason why I brought him up is just because, I just wanted to mention he's a sleeper for me this year. A lot of aspects because, he's on the White Sox and, you don't think that you can get a lot of production out of him. But, here's Colson Montgomery to be the monster contributor. He's also not going anywhere relatively close, so you would have to lean onto him for that. He's super low in ADP. So ultimately, he's a guy that you want to pick towards the end of your drafts that I think you can walk away with and actually be an impact player that is good for days off. And then, somebody goes down and he works himself into your everyday playing lineup. But the home runs and stuff is actually super obtainable. Dom mentioned the underlying stats of the barrel percentage of 14.5, the hard hit percentage of 44.5%. And the thing is, when it comes to a guy that getting his first lick at the bigs, making a statement with this kind of quality of contact and how hard he's hitting the ball already at an MLB level usually says that this is something to stick around. We already seen it in his profile. You go look at his, Fangraph report and, the raw power speed and the game power was always high for him. The dude crushes the ball. Now, again, he's limited by the team around him, but there's no world where he can't have 80-80, even with a crud team. Or even 80-70. You're not mad at that, especially. I think he's going and pick 200 rounds, if I'm not mistaken. I would have to fact check myself.
After 200.
Right. So I mean, now you're talking about a steal. If you could get a guy that does 80-75 with 30 to honestly, I think 40 home run upside, batting 250, which I think we'll get into that. He's going to be that's a steal. That's a win your league kind of pick. And on top of that, let's look at this. The dude isn't just like a 29.2% strikeout rate, and it's not like he doesn't walk. The guy actually walks nearly 9% of the time. That's actually impressive. Which could also tell you he could if he could bring down his strikeout percentage 2%, there's your 250 batting average. So, and the OPS should be better than that. So, I mean, you look at what his OPS was on the season, it was 840. He got on base. So there is opportunity for a lot of positive regression when it comes to Colson Montgomery, hence why he's on my sleeper list this year.
Yeah, Matt, I am right there on board with you, Montgomery. I'm liking him a lot this year. I think I'll have a good amount of shares, as long as the ADP doesn't get crazy. But let's jump back in. I think we got time for about one more. It's somebody I want to preface this too. This is somebody that I like, and I'm probably going to wind up moving up, especially if he looks good in spring training. You got him at 13. I got him at 16. But once again, I am a big fan. Kind of like the way you were, Montgomery. I am the way with Jackson Holliday here. Matt, tell us why you like Jackson Holliday this season.
So, I mean, I wouldn't say I like him. I know so we covered him in second base. That's really where he's relevant, in all honesty.
Fair enough. I did forget we talked about him at second base.
But if you're new to the show and you go back and you listen to second base, just make sure to skip it. But here we are. We're going to talk about it. I like Jackson Holliday over because of the upside. When I'm drafting him at shortstop, he's going well after a whole bunch of players. You're not going to get him at this point. But if you somehow do, this is where I'm kind of like, okay, I want to take my shot. I think that the prospect pedigree, just the pure bat skills that he showed off in the minors and who he is, I think is there. But I have a lot of question marks. So this isn't a guy I want to walk away with, truthfully, with safety or feel safe about. I'm not going to feel wonderful about it either because there's a lot of fear, but you draft a guy like Colson Montgomery later and you're pretty happy. Jackson Holliday is a guy that has all the ceiling in the world, but I got to preface it like this. Him being 22 years old and not doing what he should be doing, and the home runs at only 17 through almost a full season, and having a barrel percentage of 7.8% and a hard hit percentage of 40.8 doesn't equate to the power that we thought we were going to see from him in the minors. So I have red flags, but if I'm able to get him as the 13th shortstop coming off the board, I'll feel better than Willy Adames. I'll feel better than everybody else after him. But I honestly don't even think you're going to get him because he's going to go much earlier than when you start talking about your 13th overall shortstop.
Yeah, man, I'm with you on Jackson Holliday, but great breakdown there. I don't know how much we want to get into him. We have talked about him a good amount already in the second base episode, but I like him too. And let's not forget he was number one prospect. Let's not get prospect fatigue on a 22-year-old. But Matt, I don't know if there's anyone else you want to throw at me, or if we're just ready to get us out of here. Matt, I think you're muted.
I think we just wrap. So, guys, make sure to stick around next week. We got a mock draft. I'll be coming from you at Florida. And we're going to be rocking and rolling all the time. Do not miss these episodes, because also next week, I believe we're covering outfield. No, third base. So stick around for that. We're going to do the same format. And if you've missed any episodes and you want to see a player we've talked about, make sure to tune in on all the other episodes covering every position so far. And thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen every day. Make sure to make Locked On MLB your second listen. Peace out, guys.
See ya.